Welcome to Suffolk Matters, where all of Suffolk County meets the men and women of Suffolk AME. News, opinions, and insights you won't hear anywhere else. Here's your host, the president of New York's largest independent union, Suffolk AME's Dan Leveler.
Welcome to another edition of Suffolk Matters on Walk 97.5 and 94.3 The Shark, where Suffolk County meets the men and women of Suffolk AME. News and views you can't hear anywhere else. So my guest this morning is Melissa Pandolf. She's a senior Veterans Service Officer. Good morning, Melissa.
Good morning.
So it's great to have you on the show. There's a lot for us to discuss, a lot about what Veteran Services provides in Suffolk County. But we want to know a little bit about you as well, so we'll get into a little bit of your history. But first and foremost, you know, what are the responsibilities in your office and you particularly?
Mission for Suffolk County veterans is to make sure that they get the maximum benefits in the shortest amount of time. Many times we find that veterans do not know what they're entitled to, what they're eligible for. So our job is to, have them call in, talk to us. We have a conversation with them, and based on what they say, we steer them towards certain benefits and eligibility criteria, and we help them get what they're entitled to.
Yeah, so it's like a one-stop shop. If you're a veteran and you need to know if you qualify for something,
Exactly.
You would call in, and we'll get into how veterans can actually contact your office. But, there's a lot of talk recently about, what a hero looks like, right? And this last year has definitely taught us that we have everyday heroes around us. But when we talk about veterans, we're talking about those people who gave of themselves very much so, and some of them, gave all, right?
Absolutely.
And for Suffolk County to be there for our veterans, we have a very large veteran population. I think it's a very important thing, to understand. And it says something about the kind of people that take that job, that look to seek to serve the community that way. We always say AME members are altruistic by nature. They want to get out there and they want to help their community. And that's very much true for the folks in your office.
Absolutely. So what I think is most important is that your neighbors could be your heroes, and people don't know that. A lot of times veterans don't self-identify.
Right.
So you're living right next door to veterans, and you're not even aware of it. So it's always important to see who's around you, know who's around you, and don't assume a veteran looks a certain way or talks a certain way, because
Sure.
You never know who we are.
So speaking of who we are, you have had some history as a veteran yourself. Can you give us a little bit of that history?
I can. I served in the Air Force for 22 years. I served active duty for about 9 of those years in total. And then I served in the reserves, and I deployed with the reserves to the Middle East. And then I finished out my career with the Air National Guard. I served as a flight medic. I worked in finance. I had 2 careers. The military's been very good to me. I have a few degrees from that as well. So.
And you did get deployed to Ground Zero following 9/11.
I did. The 106 Rescue Wing was activated federally to basically do security at Ground Zero. So we worked with the NYPD and the Army reservists and guardsmen that were there to help secure the perimeter.
Yeah, that's again, that's excellent, and it's just it goes to show again that level of commitment that folks that are veterans put into their early days of their life and what they did to give back to their country. And so, it naturally follows suit that you would find yourself in a position looking to help those that had already helped us, across the country. Is there anything in particular in your experience in the Air Force or the Reserves or the Air National Guards that sticks out, that helps you with what you're doing today?
The diversity that I was exposed to absolutely helps me do what I do now. In the military, you don't know who you're serving next to. You just know that you trust that person that you're standing next to, and they got your 6.
Yes.
So diversity is it's a very big part of what we do. You have to not take anything personally. You just meet with the person, speak to them, not take anything, if they're upset or anything, you just listen to them, because somewhere in the back of your head, you're relating to them.
Right.
And you just want to get them the best service that they can. So serving our country and then serving our veterans now, for me, was a very easy transition, because it's still the same world that I know.
And, so veteran service officers in Suffolk County, they're in a union-protected AME position. What do you think that means for those that you're working with to know that they have a union that that has their back.
For my coworkers, it's very important. We had a very secure situation in the military. We knew we had, basic coverages as being an airman or a soldier or a Marine or sailor. So knowing that we have the same protections in the union helps us do our job better, because sometimes there's a little confrontation, sometimes things can happen, and knowing that we have the union there to stand by us and understand us and help us get through sometimes difficult times with some clients, it's really a good thing.
Sure. And, there's so much we try to do as representatives across our membership. But as we talk about your office and the various other offices, members of AME have come in and spoken about their work life. And there is a very large diversity inside of AME, about 6,000 active members across the county and Suffolk Community College. 924 job titles. There's a lot of different things that can happen. There's a lot of times where, someone wants to make a simple change, but that simple change could have an impact on another department. And then what do we do and how do we do it? And there's a lot that goes into making sure that there's safety and security for our members. But at the end of the day, the reason we do all of this is because we know what it's like to be in positions where you weren't necessarily protected. All of us have that story in our lives at
Absolutely.
some point in time where, no one had your back and you had to stand alone. So being able to stand as a group and stand together, definitely something I'm passionate about. We'll say that, So on a personal level, I see that you are additionally an author.
So my husband and I adopted 4 biological siblings from a Russian orphanage. We adopted 3 at one time, and then a 4th one was born, so we couldn't leave him there naturally.
Right.
So we went back and adopted him as well. So in order for my children to always know what their story was and how they came to be Pandolfs,
Right.
I decided to take my journal that I kept and turn it into a book that I had published. And along with it becoming the story of their adoption, it also opened up a gateway for other adoptive moms to know that there is something called post-adoption depression, which is very similar to postpartum depression.
Okay.
And that it's very real and it's there. And fortunately for me, that book turned into something else that did help other people when I published it. So it was dual purpose in the end. So it was very gratifying to write that and to see how I help people.
No, that is very good. And, again, not everybody in the world is that way, right? Looking to, one, adopt, and then on top of that, you had a unique situation where you were able to adopt 3 siblings, keep them together. That's very important. That had to really have an impact on their life. And then, circling back around for the 4th. And it's, that's very much commendable. It's not something everybody does. So
we're very lucky.
Giving back and getting that information out in the world to help other people, adoptive parents, that's a very good thing. Within the Veteran Service Agency, when we talk about services, what kind of resources would that be? Does that cover things like mental health and crisis intervention, homelessness, financial assistance? Am I going too far into it? Or
So the Veteran Service Agency, our main role, or paper job as I call it, is filing compensation claims or pension claims with the Department of Veterans Affairs.
Okay.
And we're the advocates for the veterans so that they don't necessarily have to deal with the VA directly. We get to be their middleman and walk them through a process that can be sometimes very lengthy and a little challenging and difficult.
Sure.
Aside from that, we have veterans that call in for a myriad of things. Some may need, if it's the wintertime, they call because they don't have any oil. If it's the summertime, they call because they need their air conditioner fixed.
Right.
Some veterans need landscaping, snow removal, housing, jobs. It goes from one extreme to the next.
Right.
And we virtually have a resource for everything.
That's amazing.
We network really well within Suffolk County. A lot of our big agencies help us. We have the Dwyer Project for Mental Health, as you mentioned, mental health.
Yes.
We have Long Island Carers, Island Harvest. There are many, many resources that we use almost on a daily basis when our veterans call in that we can connect them with and make sure that they're getting what they need.
Yeah, and so, I guess maybe to put that in perspective, Suffolk County veteran population, do you have some idea of what that number may be, what that percentage may be as a county? Or
Suffolk County as a whole, we have the largest number of veterans in New York State. In our county, depending on the numbers you look at, it ranges from say 80,000 to over 100,000. You know, we don't have an accurate count, but that's the
Right.
numbers we basically have. And we are I want to say the second largest in the country, with Nassau and Suffolk combined, as having a veteran population, second to California, San Diego. So we have a very large population here.
These are, necessary services, but there's also a big population to serve.
Yes.
So it's probably not a job that involves a lot of boredom.
No, certainly not.
You are probably
It is a
busy.
different job every day. You never know
Yes.
what you're going to experience and who you're going to
Yeah,
be
you
able to
can-
meet and talk to.
Right. You can kind of anticipate in the winter times, you're going to get some heating related and maybe
Yes.
some shelter related questions, but generally speaking, the job is whatever it ends up being.
Whatever it ends up being. And we have celebrities that we've assisted, which makes the day exciting. I won't
Right.
mention names
Yeah.
for privacy, but we do have.
Was it Mr. T?
I'm not going
Oh,
to
all
say anything, but we do have. Sometimes it's exciting because we do get a call and we're like, "No way, can you drop off an autograph picture?" And they will, and they do, and it's
That's
fun.
very nice. How does your office handle outreach? How do you get the information out to people? I mean, this is maybe one vehicle that we can use, and again, we'll share some contact information for those that are interested, but on the times we're not discussing things like this on the radio. How do you contact this veteran population?
Well, COVID changed a lot of things, obviously.
Yeah.
But the fortunate thing, as a veteran service officer, we have to be veterans ourselves. So that helps us connect with the population out there. So a lot of times, just as VSOs and being veterans, when we're out in the community, whether we're out with our kids at a park or we're at a supermarket, we'll see somebody with a veteran hat, and we will all approach them
Yeah.
and say, "Hey, give me a call. You never know what you're entitled to."
Right.
So a lot of that goes on, and that helps us because that's throughout Suffolk County, because we all live in different sections of Suffolk County.
Yeah.
So word of mouth is a big thing, and our VSOs, we all have big mouths. We love what we do, and we always like to share
Yes.
our knowledge. So that's a really big part of what we do.
Okay.
Also, again, COVID had a lot to do with it, but I do a lot of outreach. Most of the time, I'm the one out in the field. I will give briefings to anybody that wants to hear me talk. VFWs, colleges, high schools, recruiters, families of
Radio shows?
there you go, radio,
Yeah.
families of kids that are joining the military so that they
Yes.
understand when their kids come home to Suffolk County, we're here for them and help them transition. So really, any way anybody wants to listen to us talk, we
Okay.
will come and we will be there and we will talk your ear off.
That's good, and you bring up an aspect that I have to touch on because again, I really do feel like it is indicative of what it is to be a county worker. There you are in the grocery store on your time. You're done for the day. You see a hat, right over.
Yes.
And so it's something you take with you.
Absolutely.
That care for the community is not something you don't glance at your watch and say, well, technically I'm off. I'm not passing on
doesn't
the
happen in
information.
our
It's-
office.
it is always constant and pervasive. Yeah,
We have a great staff. I'm very proud of everybody.
that's good. So you had mentioned, there's a number of services that you guys, also fold into what it is you do, and there's a couple of programs I just want to ask you about, and the first one being the Joseph Dwyer program. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is?
I can tell you a little bit about the Dwyer program based on how I'm integrated into it. Joseph Dwyer was a veteran that came back here to Long Island. He's from Long Island. And unfortunately, he lost his battle with his mental health, with post-traumatic stress. And because of that, Congressman Zeldin, but he wanted to develop a program that lets other veterans have a safe space, essentially. A lot of veterans coming out of the military, a lot of them want to go into law enforcement, fire department, some type of first responder services.
Sure.
And they're fearful that if they identify as having some type of mental health crisis going on, or just depression, anxiety, post-traumatic stress, whatever you want to call it, they won't seek assistance because they're afraid it'll affect their job, it'll affect their ability to carry arms.
Right.
Stigma.
Yeah.
There's a stigma.
Yes.
So the Joseph P. Dwyer program essentially lets these veterans go to these groups, identify as Elvis Presley if you want to. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And
Was that the autograph you got?
no, I wish. Elvis sightings. But they can go there and they can talk and have no repercussions. There's
Right.
no documentation. There's no mental health provider. It's all peer-to-peer support.
Awesome.
The only time they have to report is if you're a harm to yourself or others.
Right.
But other than that, it's a very safe space for them to go to, and it's a huge program that I really do hope goes nationwide because it is very much needed for these veterans.
I will say, yeah, I completely agree with the concept that needs to be expanded. And, if you were serving in the military and let's say somehow you broke your pinky and then your pinky healed and now you wouldn't even think twice in a job interview,
Correct.
Mental health and physical health, they're kind of the same thing.
Yes.
And you talk about that stigma, but the fact of the matter is sometimes people need a little help. It's like being sick and then getting better, right? And if we just pretend that you're not sick, and again, in this unfortunate case, this program is named after somebody who needed some help and could have gotten some help, but it just wasn't there. I agree this program needs to be expanded, and I think that mental health is something that we all need to understand a little bit better.
Yes, absolutely.
And be more tolerant of. So, again, he's talking about various things that you deal with. I see that the Blue Water Navy Veterans, Vietnam Veterans Act of 2019 comes into play. And can you tell us a little about that?
I can. My Vietnam veterans that I work with, that I meet, are very near and dear to my heart. They came home to a really crappy situation. Obviously, I can't relate to that, but I can relate to being in the military of some level with them. So we have some kind of connection when any of our VSOs work with them. But our Vietnam veterans, they've been treated so poorly. And when the Blue Water Navy Act and adding other illnesses to the presumptive list, which I can speak about, when those things happen, it is a huge win and huge victory for these veterans. And as VSOs, we strive and look forward to find those cases that were denied to go ahead and have them re-adjudicated with the VA to make sure that these veterans are getting what they need and what they are rightfully eligible and entitled to. Blue Water Navy, you'd be surprised how many people don't know what that is. It's the country of Vietnam. If your ship docked at Vietnam and you had a tow on the ground in Vietnam,
Right.
and you were, on the ship was there, one tow, you were just presumed to have been exposed to Agent Orange.
Yes.
Blue Water Navy they were relatively close to the shoreline, but the government said, well, you weren't close enough. Well, all this, everybody's got the same illnesses and diseases, but it took all the way to this Blue Water Navy Act being implemented that allowed 12 miles off the shore of Vietnam for all those ships to now be included. And that is a really huge deal, especially for a lot of our veterans, because they've been suffering with illnesses for so long and their claims have been denied so long ago that they forgot about them.
Right.
Well, most recently, I'm very proud to say that the Suffolk County Veteran Service Agency had one veteran here in Suffolk County that we reapplied for his benefits, and he received $268,000 in a retro payment and is now receiving over $3,000 a month, every month as a monthly benefit, and these are all tax-free benefits.
That's phenomenal.
And we also had another veteran in the past few weeks that received over $145,000 in a retroactive payment.
So, Melissa, speaking about the Vietnam era, and then, obviously there's been conflicts more recent, and therefore there's this age gap. Do you find that communicating with the different generations takes different methods?
It does. The older generation, my Vietnam veterans, my Korean War veterans, they tend to go more towards the traditional American Legion, VFW posts, DAV. They tend to gravitate more towards their camaraderie in those organizations. Whereas the younger generation, they're a little bit more harder to reach because they're raising their families.
Right.
They're working full-time during the day. So we try to find them in different places. We'll go to local colleges. Dwyer Project and the Veteran Service Agency have gone to the police academy to educate them what a veteran looks like and to find veterans that are currently in the academy so that we can educate the new police officers coming out what a veteran looks like, how to identify a veteran, and, steer them towards our offices. The younger ones are a little more difficult because they do work full time. So we try to get a little creative in how we find them. We've gone to different organizations I won't call anybody out, but their larger box stores will have conversations with us and let us bring in information and leave it there for their employees that they know are veterans.
That's helpful.
Through the schools, my children went through the school districts, so
Right.
they talk. Oh, well, my mom's in the military, and then it starts conversing with children who then
Right.
go home and talk to their parents that may or may not be veterans. Veterans could be as young as 19, 20 years old.
That's true.
And a lot of times, if you close your eyes and you think of a veteran, you're going to think of an older gentleman with white hair and a VFW hat.
Right.
And, my daughter is currently in the Navy, and she's 5'2", 100 pounds, blonde hair, blue eyes,
Right.
and she's kicking ass in the Navy.
Yeah.
So you never
Right.
know what a veteran looks like, so never assume. And if you just find a little, if we find any detail that they could be a veteran, then we, as VSOs, would approach them and talk to them and just kind of casual conversation. And just, you got to be unique and think outside the box sometimes to get our younger guys.
Sure, but that's a very interesting point. Yeah, I can see how certain generations are looking for communication in different ways.
Yes.
So then that really just gets us back to how you had mentioned earlier that it doesn't matter what time of day or what you're doing, on the clock, off the clock. If you spot someone and you think they need to hear about it, that's what you do.
Yes.
I'm going to want to mention it again, but I think it's a really good time in this conversation just to mention that you can contact the Suffolk Veteran Services Agency by calling 631-853-VETS, VETS.
Correct.
Also, if you want to email, this is going to be a little more tricky, but it is veteransinfo@suffolkcountyny.gov.
Correct.
Veteransinfo@suffolkcountyny.gov.
Yes.
631-853-VETS, VETS.
Yes.
So that is phenomenal. Those are and I can see the personal pride that you feel in getting something like that done. And that's what I've been talking about. When you talk about a public employee and why they get involved in doing work for the public, it's that happiness that you see when you can come through for somebody that was due something and you're able to provide it for them. So, again, to you, your coworkers, thank you very much on behalf of the veteran population and just being all around excellent people.
Thank you.
So also, Suffolk County has a marathon that goes to support veterans. We are familiar with it on several levels as participants. I strongly considered running one time, but then thought better of it. But
You can crawl.
Yes, it is something that we support. We think it's
Yes.
it's a great it's a great way to kind of help with these resources that are necessary. But it's also a great day. If you run or if you don't run, it's a great day to come out. But let me have you explain, what the marathon is and why I think it's such a great thing.
Yes. So the Suffolk County Marathon is in support of our Suffolk County veterans, and we do thank AME for being such strong supporters of the run and of our veterans here in Suffolk County. This year, we're very excited to say we are planning an in-person event. There will be some exciting news coming in the next week, possibly week and a half.
Very good.
So keep an eye out for those announcements. The race is scheduled for October 24th.
Okay.
And we look forward to having a live event. We did fantastic last year, even though it was a virtual run. We raised over $100,000 last year. And in total, over the past 6 years, we've raised over $500,000. And all of that money went back to the veterans here in Suffolk County.
Yeah, that is a very big deal.
Yes.
It is a very big deal. And again, we believe in this, again, inside of government, just like yourself. There are so many veterans that are part of, the civil service community. And we believed in it for that reason, but we also saw, the greater need for the community and our ability to stand there and maybe highlight some of what government does for people on all different levels, including the veterans that these funds are being raised
Yes.
for.
And it's for families. It's a family-friendly event. It's a 5K, 10K. half marathon, full marathon. There's something for everybody. So
Yes.
come on out and join us. And again, a couple weeks, there's going to be some exciting announcements.
Awesome. Yeah, the one thing I will say that I noticed, there was at all times throughout the day people having fun. And there was one year where it was a little rainy and everybody threw on plastic bags and they went for their run and they still hung around. We were there all day and it was,
Great
I got to
event.
tell you, rain or shine, it was
Yes.
it was a good time. But it has been a very consistent draw.
Yes.
To get get the community out to learn about these issues and to support these issues. So, looking forward to that news
It'll
in
be
a
fun.
week and a half.
Freedom Fest is back.
So, I always like to take a little time to, when I can, ask my guest if there's anything I've missed. I tend to ask a bunch of questions that are of interest to me, and we get into, the questions that I ask. But are there any issues or any topics that we didn't cover that you think might be important for people to hear about?
The most important thing I like to get out to my veteran population is please call us. As my director says, use us and abuse us. You don't know what you're eligible for unless you speak with us. Things are not always salary-based or how much money you make. There are benefits out there regardless of what your income is, regardless of what your bank account looks like. The big one is property tax exemptions. People are not aware that they may or may not be getting their property tax exemptions. Widows of veterans that served during wartime, big deal. They don't know that they're entitled to benefits, potentially. And the wartime eras recently changed, which changed the game plan as well, because Vietnam used to be approximately 1964 to 75. That recently backed up to 1955 to 1975. So people that were not eligible previously may be eligible now. So it's important that I'd rather you call and talk to us to kind of figure everything out. And if you're not eligible, it was just a phone call and some time. But we don't want anybody to miss out on anything that they're entitled to.
No, and again, the best way to get that information, I'll throw it back out there again. If you want to give a call and have the conversation, it is 631-853-VETS, VETS. If you would rather email, it's veteransinfo@suffolkcountynY.gov. One more time, veteransinfo@suffolkcountynY.gov. And the phone number is 631-853-VETS, VETS. Now, after you're done writing all of that down, I do want to point you to the Suffolk Marathon page. But that's a little easier, which is suffolkmarathon.com. Get involved if you want to run, if you want to participate, or just come down, enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy the day, and support the cause. And my guest this morning was Melissa Pandolf. She's a senior veteran service officer. Thank you so much for joining me this morning.
Thank you for having me.
And to our listeners, we'll speak to you next week.